Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation. And my guest today is Dr. Paul Savage. He is an emergency physician, health and toxic expert, CEO, founder of MDLifeSpan, and creator of the PlasmaXchange protocol. This is my brief introduction to Paul, but there's so much more about him. We have been talking off record, and I'm already in awe. So, the first question, before we get started with the topics for today, I would love to hear from you the question that never left me. How would you introduce yourself? Who is Paul in his own words in this very moment?
You know, Valerie, that's a great question. I think we all need to understand who we are and how we see ourselves.
Right.
I'm just a little kid that grew up and was very curious. I'm the little kid who liked to build things because problem solving was my favorite thing to do. But it's relationships that my heart yearns for the most. It's the connections with people. So when I became a doctor and all my mentors were saying, don't get emotionally involved with your clients, right. I learned very quickly that that was just not truthful. How can you be the best doctor possible to them if you don't have a bond to them? So after 10 years in the emergency department at the largest trauma center in the world, I went out on my own to do health and wellness, and I really started connecting with patients in just an amazing way.
Yes, I can imagine. I can just imagine. What inspired you to become a doctor, Paul? What was the first inspiration, the main inspiration?
You know, I think it was my best friend. His name was Dale. And we lived in this really small town in Michigan. And so we had a volunteer fire department and volunteer ambulance department with emergency medical technicians, no paramedics. The nearest trauma center was about 35 miles away. And they were hiring young men and women to become what we call gophers. Basically, go get the box, go get the. And so he and I interviewed and we got the position. So we were always racing through the town with our little lights and sirens when we became 16. And we would be, or even before, but we had to sleep at the barn. And I just really started enjoying people. And, you know, it's different when you deal with people in an emergency situation. I read an article today. It just made my heart proud and at the same time made me feel sad because it's such pivotal times in people's lives. And I realized at that time, that's what I wanted to do moving forward. I wanted to be with people when they were in that pivotal part of their life, to share my hopes, my strengths, my experiences, but also because it was gratifying. It's a sense of joy that you get from being of service to other people. Matter of fact, of all the things in the world, I think that's the highest calling.
Yes, that really makes sense to me. Yeah, it resonates true. It's just incredible how some people like you choose to do this specific work service of being an emergency physician. I can only imagine. I was just talking to my husband the other day, like I wouldn't be able to do that, you know, I would just faint or something. So that's, you see, we all have our own, it feels like that we are built for something, that we have this calling, this purpose in life.
No, I'm very much aligned with that. I do think if people are watching this podcast and they're thinking, I don't know what my calling is, just wait. But you also have to look. You have to be open and you have to be honest and you have to be willing to move when that opportunity comes because life is constantly sending you messages. The question is, are you listening?
That's a beautiful message. Yes, I love that. A spiritual one too at that. So we'll be talking about the work that you've been doing for so long. So with the MDLifeSpan, and you have created this protocol called PlasmaXchange. So reduce toxins, increase longevity, and have more happy moments. I put it that way. And I'm adding the word happy here on your website to say giving life more moments. That's really resonated with me because I'm very spiritual oriented. And I think when I think about the human experience, I think about moments, you know.
That's exactly what it is. It's the string of those moments over a lifetime. Because when you talk to people about being ill, terminal, it's interesting that they just remember two things, the terminal patients. They remember all the good things and the people that love them. So they remember all those pearls along the way, and then they remember their regrets. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we all have these regrets. And they go, no, you don't understand. It's not the regrets about what you've done. Those are all pearls. It's the regrets about what you haven't done, because the game time's up, the game's over. So I always tell people, make sure all the pearls are on the string.
Wow, that's a big one too. Not regretting what we have not done. Is there anything that you regret not haven't done?
I'd have to say no at this point in my life. I mean, I've made it a real true effort to repair the bridges with the people that I can. It's to overcome the challenges we all have from our youth. It's about bringing yourself to the next level of enlightenment and freedom. It's about growing spiritually and emotionally, as well as mentally, and then physically taking care of yourself so that it can carry on and keep doing all those different things. But regrets about things that I've done, no.
Yes.
I've already made amends for all those different things. And regrets over things I haven't done yet, no. I try to stay pretty current, because as an ER doctor, it's unfortunate. But when the end comes, it's not uncommonly quick.
Yes. So in your bio, it says, Dr. Paul combines traditional and integrative medicine to keep himself and his patients in top physical and mental condition. So that question came to me immediately. What would that look like to be in top physical and mental condition?
Well, that's a great question. But you can put parameters around that. A lot of the qualifying ones, for example, is for you, Valerie, what would be a good, healthy emotional state? I think we can all pretty understand that we want to be proactive, not reactive with our emotions.
Yes.
So learning what your emotions are about, what they're for, and learning how to respond to them instead of because of them is a goal I think everybody should undertake. Physically, it's the same thing. But the problem with the physical challenge is, I used to tell everybody who was overweight and had any problems at all, eat better and exercise. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for most people, because the reason most people have all these morbidity and other issues isn't because they're eating wrong or not exercising to the best of their ability. It's because something else going on with them internally. And when that internal machine starts to go sideways, maintaining your physical health becomes challenging. But if you're going to spend your dollar on anything, spend it on your health.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big one. And I used to think that, eating healthy, choosing what I eat, it of course is part of it. Exercising, which I always have been doing, taking supplements. I thought that would be enough. But then the more I expose myself to learning and listen to my amazing guests here, and today you with this emphasizing again, the danger of toxins, something that most of us are not aware of, or some of us are not really giving enough importance to.
Right.
So let's start there, I guess. Talk to me about the impact of toxins on our health and resilience.
I'd like to, if I could, just back up for just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
You said something very important. You said you thought eating and exercising would be enough.
Yeah.
I think it's important people understand there's three parts to longevity. There's the prevention, there's the detection, and then there's the intervention.
Yeah.
Prevention is what you're talking about. Let's eat well, let's exercise, let's get good sleep, or find out why we can't. Let's manage our stress or find out why we can't. And let's detoxify by not getting things in, and also whenever we can, get things out. Prevention's relatively simple. Everybody knows it. It's not everybody does it, which they should, but everybody knows it. Detection is next, because believe it or not, there is a lot of testing out there that is not available through your primary care doctor and insurance. For example, did you know there's a blood test that can test you for virtually every cancer way before it shows up on an x-ray?
Wow.
And if you can detect it that early, you can change the outcome, because cancer cells very early on, very easy to kill off, essentially, especially with early markers. And you can there's a way to scan your body relatively inexpensively, because if you have an aneurysm, which is a bubble on one of the arteries that we don't know about in your brain, and it breaks, you're instantly dead. But if we know it's there, we can go fix it before it breaks. So there's a lot of things like, for example, heart disease. Everybody always talks about their cholesterol. I'm like, forget your cholesterol. Go get a calcium coronary scan. It's a very quick CAT scan, very low radiation, detects how much calcium is in the arteries around the heart. And that's what we really want to know with heart disease, right? Is, do you have disease? It's a very inexpensive test. Matter of fact, you can get it for usually $50. And that's going to tell you things like, well, I shouldn't have heart disease. I don't have a family history. I don't smoke. I don't have bad cholesterol. You might. And for $50, it's an easy way to figure it out. So detection becomes evolved, and you can keep detecting early and early because, repeatedly, so you catch it in its earliest stage. And then intervention. And intervention always says getting a way to put together the traditional way with medications. I'm not against medication.
Right.
But I believe that you can do things with nutrition and supplements and stem cells and exosomes. And what we've come up with now with the PlasmaXchange by MDLifeSpan is a game changer for the entire world. And I don't say that lightly. I say that with full throttle voice because the toxins have become the greatest existential threat to our survival. Do you know who said that? Stephen Hawking, the smartest man in the world, said that a month before he died from ALS, which is a neurotoxin degenerative disease. How ironic.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Now we can move on to your question, which was PlasmaXchange.
Yeah.
PlasmaXchange, PlasmaXchange itself has been around for almost 50 years. So in the ER, I used to use it on people because what PlasmaXchange does is it takes out your plasma. Your blood is made up of two components, the liquid and the cells. The liquid we call plasma. It carries liquid, it carries nutrients, it carries antibodies, it carries toxins, it carries all these different things in the fluid part like a conveyor belt or a highway. And then you have your cells, your red cells, your white cells, and your platelets. They also float around and the plasma carries them through your system. So you have both parts, about 50-50 of each in most people. So PlasmaXchange is basically going in and taking out your plasma and giving you back just regular, healthy, sterile fluids until the next day, because that's how often you make plasma, you make more new plasma. The difference is now it's fresh. It's non-toxic, non-inflamed, non-oxidized, non-cancer. It's fresh, baby, fresh plasma. Mm-hmm. And so by repeatedly doing that about every 4 weeks, we keep getting your blood cleaner and cleaner. Think an oil change for an old car. I don't know if you've ever worked on old cars, but the guys out there will understand, and the women who work on cars will understand is one thing you get with an old car is you drive it around for 2 hours or 2 weeks, and then you come change the oil. Put new oil in, change it, drive it around for 2 more weeks, change the oil, drive it around for 2 more weeks. And eventually, within about 3, 4, 5 times, finally it's clean of all that stuff that was in the engine. That's what PlasmaXchange is for human. It's very safe and it's very effective. And if you're Googling PlasmaXchange, which I know all of your listeners are doing, make sure you look for PlasmaXchange with albumin, not PlasmaXchange with plasma.
Wow. Yes, that's a lot. Great information right there. And it's available. You just go on your website, MDLifespan.com. Everything is there. All the information.
Correct.
I love it's very simple too. I love the steps because you have the plans. At step 1, you can order the toxin and test and the talk. And then 2, a single TPE, which I had to put it here, therapeutic plastic exchange that you just spoke of. And then you have the other 3 plans. And then my question was, how do we know how many TPE do we need?
Well, that's my job. That's my job to help you with. One of the things, Valerie, I always tell people is PlasmaXchange is for the people who have a lot of toxins, or they have biomarkers of aging like telomeres, things they want to improve, because we have the studies that show PlasmaXchange improves your telomeres, improves all your biomarkers of aging. There's a recent study out with very good, and we've known that for years. Or people who have inflammation, who want to knock it down, or people who have a disease that they're worried about. Let's say your mom has Alzheimer's. My dad had cancer. All my grandmother, my mom, and my sister died from Alzheimer's. So you can see I have a great concern, but I also have a great passion to eradicate it as much as possible. And we know Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain that occurs when the immune system attacks something. And that's always been maybe it's aluminum, maybe it's a virus, maybe it's these different chemicals. My answer is it's all of them. It doesn't matter. Because if you can get them all out, who cares which one was guilty? Right. And the other thing about the toxins, we can talk a little bit about those, they come in all shapes and sizes, but they didn't used to be in our environment 60 years ago. That was started to get introduced in the 60s. And then by the 90s, it's rampant. And we already know from like DuPont and the forever chemicals, how that ravaged the population of Parkersville, West Virginia. And we know these things are bad. In a recent interview, a very high governmental official in the environment said the microplastics. And she was asked, how bad are they? She goes, it's bad. Yeah. It's really bad. We don't have all the data, but we don't need the data to know this is going to be a huge problem.
Right.
So the things that you want to do is, I always tell people, clean up your environment. We'll give your listeners a link where they can download a PDF that says, here's how you take care of yourself at home. Because 90% of your toxins are in your home. And you have to get them out because you're next to them, you're touching them, you're eating them, you're drinking them. But that can stop relatively easy. And the second thing that I always tell people, go get tested. Because you don't know what you don't measure. And some people are like, I'm healthy, I'm 40, I'm a female, I'm thin, I'm good. Honestly, those are the women who are very highly toxic because of all the beauty products they use, which contain incredible amounts. We have all these patients where you used to have no toxins in these patients 20 years ago. Now the average per person is 13. And of those, 5 of them are in the high critical range. That's average. And then we have these groups of people who are sick, but this group of women specifically who are way out at 30, testing out of 100. Right. And they're like, why me? And I'm saying, it's your beauty products. So you got to clean up your home. You got to take care of the water, the air, the food, the chemicals, so you and your family and your kids can remain safe and healthy.
Mm. Yes, I love your commitment to education too. That's really beautiful what you're doing. I see the free copy of the on your website, the guidebook, Get MDL Clean. So you can download there. I have the website link will be here.
Well, the beautiful thing about that, Valerie, is we explain to you why.
Yeah.
Then we tell you how. And we even give you examples of what to use. Because people are like, okay, a water filter, what does that mean? Well, that means something different for a lot of different people. Let's give you some examples of things that work. We've either investigated them or they're from Consumer Reports. Highly rated and getting done what we want to do, because like everything else out in that world of ours, 90% of it isn't real and it doesn't do what it says. Yeah. But we've gone to a great deal of effort to make sure that people know this does work and you can use it safely and effectively.
Right. That's wonderful. Another question I have for you is the how to get the tests. So I think I read on your website that we had some of them or one of them, you have to go to the office to do it in person. So is that available everywhere in the United States, all over the world?
Okay. So we've done a lot of different things with the PlasmaXchange. But I want to make sure that everybody understands it's not just the PlasmaXchange. Mm. There's a lot of people out there doing PlasmaXchange for longevity, doing PlasmaXchange for toxins. But our group of doctors, and we have 27 now at this point, have wrapped the whole protocol around it. So we're talking about avoidance. We're talking about supplements. We're talking about exosomes. We talk about anything that we need to talk about for certain specific things. The PlasmaXchange itself is to get the toxins out. But once we get the toxins out, let's talk about what we can do to repair. And once we repair, let's talk about what we can do to maintain. So it's not just enough to go get the PlasmaXchange. It's everything that you do. Getting the toxins out is great. But then what has always been the question. So we're starting to see some pretty amazing things in our limited observational data that we have on patients. But we see very early markers of cancer being eradicated by our protocol. We're seeing very early markers of the immune system deficiency being eradicated. The immune system's coming back 100, 150% stronger in people who've always had an issue with their immune system. People who are what we call environmental sensitive. And you know those people. They could be a friend of yours that, like, no matter where they go, they smell something, a cologne, and they can't they react so strongly.
Yeah.
That's because their immune system is overwhelmed in most cases with so many toxins that just gently pulling these toxins out and giving the immune system a chance to breathe is like a new lease on life. So where we always tell people all the time, I want to make sure we're clear, is we do have the studies which show that PlasmaXchange protocol reverses biomarkers of aging, like telomeres, inflammatory markers, immunosenescence, which is the sleep, the immune system that goes weaker as you get older, which you don't want. And we have the evidence to show we remove the toxins. Matter of fact, at 6 months, a year, and 18 months after, they're even lower. So we always thought you might have to come back and do more.
Right.
You don't. As long as you follow the maintenance of keeping up a clean house.
I love that. So it is the approach that, of course, I read on your website too, integrative medicine. Mm-hmm. Is that the same as holistic medicine and functional medicine, Paul?
In essence, there's a lot of different people using a lot of different names. Let's divide it into traditional and non-traditional. Right. Traditional medicine, by definition, my definition, most people's is pharmaceuticals. You go to the doctor, you're going to get a drug. You go to a surgeon, you're going to get an operation. It's not about, hey, let's teach you how to eat better. It's not about, hey, let's do this, let's do that. It's mostly always has to do with giving you a pill or a shot. Let's take away the medicines part and say everything else. So that's nutrition and exercise and sleep management and mindfulness and spirituality, because all these things impact how you are healthy and how you stay healthy. So when you see functional, complementary, anti-aging, longevity, integrative, to me, I like integrative the best, because what that means is I want all of this stuff and I want all of this stuff. I want as many tools that I can have in my workshop and in my belt to help you. Now, you may be like, I don't want drugs. Okay, I respect that on people. I don't always agree with that, because I think antibiotics do a great good. I think the antivirals and HIV has been amazing. I think immunotherapy are the best thing that we've discovered for cancer in a very long time. But there are other drugs that I'm not so fond of, as many people aren't, for very good reasons. But at the end of the day, I'm your doctor for you to decide what's best for you. Or that's the way your doctor should be acting with you.
Yes. It takes that approach of treating each person, right, as an individual case. Right. It's not like one size fits all.
So I think the newest term out there, and I like this one the best, is called personalized medicine.
Yeah.
And because, well, is that your DNA? Yes. Is that your hormones? Yes. Is that your gut? Yes. Is that medicine? Yes. It's all of that stuff, because we're advancing very quickly in the field of medicine, especially in the testing area, but also in some of the treatment areas, like, for example, the detoxification, because we have a very big problem in the United States. We are one of the bottom, I should say, 10 countries who puts the most toxins in our citizens' environment every year.
Right.
And it's cumulative. It doesn't go away. It's not like these things, oh yeah, plastics, they biodegrade. They do not. Right. They just get smaller and smaller and smaller and cause more havoc as they get smaller. And Valerie, it used to be about toxins that we'd have to talk about people being toxic from lead or from mercury or from XYZ. Now it's not that conversation anymore. People have to understand it's not which toxins, it's about all the toxins. You can have little bits of everything, and the amount of load is huge. So think of it this way. I could have a bag of sand, or I could have 100,000 sand particles. You bring all that together, that's a lot. So it's really what we're talking about is a cumulative weight of all the toxins in every person. It's not so much one or the other, because if the toxins are causing the forest to catch on fire, taking out a couple trees, like a couple toxins, doesn't take the fire out. You got to take all the trees out. But once you do, then you can start doing the healing process, because the fire's not there. Can you imagine a forester running into a forest fire to try to plant a pine tree?
Yes.
They don't do it, and neither does your body.
Yeah. Very good point. So I love that you're helping individuals to become aware and do something about it, right? The problem with toxins. And I love the way you on your website is very well. It's very clear and it's very much outlined in order: detection, prevention, intervention. I know you kind of change the order a little bit, but it's just so, to me, it's very simple and to understand, so we can kind of follow that. But when it comes to a collective problem of making the world more toxic, I see a lot of that we technologically are trying to, in every way, trying to solve problems, and then we create more problems. You probably have heard about cremation, right? That became very popular, and then now our air is so contaminated by that too.
And you're stealing the essence of your energy from the earth, which we need to return it. We're not a sun. We don't burn up energy. We have to put that body back into the earth, so that energy, that is the chemicals that we developed, can reseed the earth. We're becoming more and more nutrient deficient in some ways because we're burning people instead of putting the body into the ground, where it's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You have to return to the ground. So I agree with that.
Another thing that caught my attention was the how long will you live? That's a question on your website. It's a quiz. That really caught my attention too. How does it work?
I think it's I'm a mathematician. I'm a statistician. So I've been doing this research on what questions do you ask that determine how long somebody lives. And it's actually pretty simple in many of the different ways. A lot of those factors are your environment and your genes. It's always your environment and your genes. Environment: do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you exercise? Do you not exercise? Do you eat well? Do you not eat well? The environment plays a lot of factors, because that environment affects the way that your genes talk, that they're read, that they're expressed. So it's always this interaction on your environment and the DNA. Now introduce into all this mixed toxins, which interfere with all of that discussion. And that's going to be the single greatest problem that we have, which is why we're seeing cancers in the 40-year-olds. This is the first time ever that the United States Preventative Task Force lower the age of colonoscopy to 45 and breast mammograms to 40. Why? Because we're seeing an unprecedented and terrifying increase in cancer in 40-year-olds. Why? You ask anybody, they'll say, oh, we're not eating well, we're not exercising. Let's be real clear. It's the toxins. We all know that. The toxins are causing those type of problems because we haven't eaten well and exercised every moment of every day, especially the microplastics. These are all doable things. And honestly, I appreciate people going like, that sounds like a lot. It's not. You don't have to do it all at once. Let's say this month you decide to install a water filtration, triple filter reverse osmosis. It comes from $200 all up to $25,000 if you want the whole house. But you can do it. Everybody could do it. That could be the first step. Your next step would just learn what we're talking about when we say how to select good food, healthy food, free of toxins. The old thing people used to say, don't peel your vegetables because all the peels have all the nutrients. Not anymore. They still have the nutrients. But the problem is now they have all the toxins too. So wash, clean, peel, everything. I've been able to get my toxins down. I was the first patient through the process, and I had a lot of toxins, and I've been able to keep them almost relatively nominal. And I've never seen nominal toxin panels for 30 years.
Wow. Thank you so much for your generosity too. I love how much information you just give it to us. I'm like, gosh, where do you start? I think I would have been doing so many things, but there's so many other things that I could be doing. So that's wonderful.
Well, this part is very important, Valeria. Download that PDF, that guide. Learn what you can do to protect yourself in the home, because if it doesn't come in, I don't have to get it out.
Right.
Viruses are toxins, if you want to think of it that way, because anything that's foreign to the body that is negative on the health of the body is a toxin. Right. So it doesn't matter whether you breathe it, inject it, get exposed, eat it. So I consider toxins living and not living. So here's all the chemicals, the heavy metals, but then you have the viruses. And some of the viruses stay around for a long time, and they negatively impact the system. And even some bacteria, they can spread what we call endotoxins. That's what they put into your system. And we carry these with us, a lot of these chronic infections, our entire life. It's not good for your immune system. It just distracts your immune system. But that's one of the things. Then add on all these other toxins that finally just puts the immune system into a funk. Interesting. Not all toxins suppress the immune system. Some toxins ramp it up.
Ah, wow.
And so what happens when you get a ramped up immune system? You get autoimmune problems. That's an immune system gone crazy. So I just, as a mathematician and a doctor for all these 40 years, I've seen this come along. We've known this, that toxins were a central key part of everything bad. And now we're seeing all these things that proves the evidence of we're just starting to see this tidal wave, but we've known it's coming for a long time. But the good news is, Valerie, you can protect yourself. You can protect your family. You can protect your friends. You can become advocates to your community, make sure that our air, our water, and our food supply is become safe. We can be advocates in the governmental level and say, stop this insanity. No other major country in the world does what we're doing here. We need to stop this insanity because it doesn't get better if you just keep dumping it in. Our goal, like you said, is give life more moments because that's what moments are. But we want to give our youth the moments and life they deserve too, because if we can give them time, they will devise the bioengineered bacteria that will go take care of the toxins. We don't have it today. Technology can't save that problem, but not if they don't have enough time.
Yes, that's true. I just interviewed David Steinman. He's an activist for toxins, and I mean, he's been firing a lot of lawsuits against huge companies. He worked with, you probably heard about the Louisiana Cancer Alley. So he's there. He moved there actually. So I really love that about activists too.
Mississippi is the toilet of America.
Yeah,
that's why Louisiana has all these problems. But it starts in Louisiana and it goes everywhere else. Like David was saying, if you look at the toxic map of the United States, it started in Louisiana because we were using it was called atrazine in the Midwest area, and it all came down the Ohio River, Columbia, down in Mississippi, down to Louisiana. And then you started seeing pockets of all this other stuff we saw only in Louisiana spread through the United States. You're going to see this. Louisiana is always just the first thing showing us what's on our agenda, what's on our docket next. And we need to pay attention to those health warnings. They're severe, not even significant. They're severe. And ignoring them, we do it at our own extinction's risk.
Right. What are the signs of being intoxicated?
Sure. Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, Parkinson's, emphysema. Those are the first signs that you're toxic.
Wow. So that's already, it seems like on, let's say, advanced stage. Can we detect, like intuitively?
There's no symptoms that correlate. I have people come in incredibly toxic. How do you feel? Fine. That's not the problem. The toxins aren't making you. You might feel a little tired. You might have chronic fatigue. You might have fibromyalgia. That's a small percentage of people who are toxic.
Right.
But the vast majority of people have no signs. When we talk about silent killers, we talk about hypertension and cholesterol. The ultimate silent killer are the toxins because they cause all those other problems: the hypertension, the heart disease, the cancer. We used to call those silent killers. Well, toxins are the ultimate because, in my opinion, and most of the research would support this, they're what fueling all that other stuff. The only way to turn it off is to get them out, to get them all out and keep them out.
Wow. And this is your proposal. This is your service to humanity. That's so wonderful. Gosh, I became interested, I have to tell you. So the first step, again, is to order the toxin test.
Well, Valerie, the first thing is they can order the toxin test on our website. It's very simple to do. Then they get a 15-minute call with me or one of our healthcare providers to go over those results. I think the last one I'm doing in 30 minutes on most of them, because we want to explain to you, because you look at those test results and people are like, oh my gosh, this is bad. Well, hold on a minute. Let's interpret that because it's all contextual. But that's why that's included in the price. You'll get time with us. We will sit there and we'll go over these results with you. And then we will tell you there's things that you can do that don't involve PlasmaXchange, or there's other people are like, no, just get me signed up. I want to do that. And how many people need to do PlasmaXchange? At this point in the United States, with the amount of toxins that we have, it's everywhere.
Oh, no. Wow. Yes, it is expected to. It wouldn't be a surprise for me. Yeah.
I mean, the 40-year-olds that are getting breast cancer and stomach cancers and all these cancers at 40, 45,
Yeah.
they ingested the cancers in their 20s. So if we get them out early
Right.
and they don't put them back in, or just basically stop putting them back in and monitor as they go down, no, there's no study out there that shows that's going to lower your risk, but everybody knows it will.
Yes. Yes. What a wonderful invitation. Yes. And that's my next question. I know that is not only about longevity and living forever or not that, but it's also, like you said, I love the giving life more moments because life is about moments. And then I added here for the topic, happy, healthier moments. So what is your relationship with death as of today?
Sure. I was a trauma doc for 10 years at the largest trauma center in the world. 500,000 people through the doors every year, 112 beds, 5 different ERs, and I was the top of the pile on the night shifts.
Yeah.
I became very familiar with death. I signed 10,000 death certificates in about 10 years. So let me be real clear with your listeners. Death isn't scary. It's the suffering that you need to be scared of.
Yeah.
That's, like you just said, give life happy, healthy moments.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, if you're not healthy, it's not life, it's misery, it's suffering. So as doctors, we're queued up to help alleviate suffering. We're not here to alleviate death. That's nowhere in the Hippocratic Oath, and it's completely impossible. I teach doctors all the time. The first rule of medicine is people die.
Yeah.
That's the first rule, and that's never going to end. However, people suffer, and that you can step in and do. The good doctors help people when they're suffering. The great doctors see it coming. The best doctors never let you get there.
Wow. I never heard it that way. That's beautiful too. What's not to love about that?
So if you don't realize that this is an investment in you, and you can be a 20-year-old or a mom who's 20 and you want to invest in your future kids, I can't tell you it's going to lower birth defects and autism and ADD, but I can tell you the vast majority, a very heavy part of the research into autism it's the toxins. Right. They're messing with things in a way we don't even know. And now there's a way that you can prepare for it. It doesn't even mean you have to get PlasmaXchange. You just need to get tested, clean up the house, your act, everything, and do it again. And if you want to get PlasmaXchange, it's safe and it's effective. We do it on people who are healthy. They're like, I just want to make sure I'm as detox as possible. That we do very well.
Yes. Yeah. I love you. I mean, I love everything about you and your wisdom and how generous you are and the work that you're doing. It's just very inspiring. Thank you so much, Paul.
You're welcome.
I do have a last question for you. Before I ask you this last ending question, is there anything that you left unsaid? Anything that you'd like to add?
Do it for your family and do it for yourself. I mean, the universe of the order of the universe is always whatever your higher power is, you, then your family, and then everything else, including work. Do this for you.
Yeah.
You are worth it. And if you need help, if there's something going on in your life and you're struggling, reach out to somebody and ask, because we're here to help each other. We all are. This is a journey of all of us, not just of one. And believe it or not, we've all been there. I've been there. You're not alone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful, another beautiful message for all of us, right? Feeling lonely with whatever we're going through, but it's just not true. So my ending question for you is about freedom. What is your idea of freedom? What is to be free?
To be free is to live your life, to be of service to other people without impingement by others or governmental officials that restrict those rights as well as those responsibilities.
Yes. I love that too. Yeah. Thinking for ourselves, right? Having more this independent way of thinking.
I love democracy because the fact is I will die for your right to vote. I will die for your right to have your own religion, raise your children, teach them as you will, with the respect of everybody else around you as well. That's part of our responsibility. Either isn't just giving everybody the opportunity, but holding each other to a standard of honesty, integrity, and truth. Because if we can't agree on truth, there's a really, really good book by Judith Wright called Heart of the Fight. And her rules of the fight, one of her rules is you must admit truth.
Mm.
Because if you can't admit truth, the fight has no purpose.
Ah, wow. I never heard it that way either. But yeah, truth is one. I'm a truth lover. Yes, yes.
Everybody think, well, truth's in the eye of the beholder. You know what? There are truths that are in the eye of the beholder, but then there's our what we call universal truths, like
Yes.
freedom, universal truths like compassion and caring. I mean, we are responsible for each other, just like we're responsible for this planet. And if we work together, and if we can just set aside the fact that you're Brazilian, I'm American, you live in the United States, I live in Brazil. I mean, there's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities. And we can do this. And we can give the next generation the time that they need to fix the planet through technology. And I do believe, I'm a physicist, mathematician, I do believe in quantum computers and AI will help us solve these problems. But if we don't have the time,
Yeah.
that's how we're going to come up short.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much, Paul, again, for your presence
Thanks
in
for
our
having me.
reality, for your beautiful contribution to health, well-being, and beyond. And I love your message about truth and freedom. So thank you so much again for being you. Thank you. And we'll be in touch again. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. So I'm here with the Dr. Paul Savage for the second time. We met before and for an interview, but this is a bit different today. So I would have to introduce him first. So Dr. Paul Savage is an emergency physician, health and toxin expert, CEO and founder of MDLifeSpan, and the creator of the PlasmaXchange protocol. So this is my brief introduction to you, and I want to thank you again, Paul, for your generosity, kind of giving me the opportunity to know more about this body mind, which I always thought I was doing everything right. I think about that every day.
And you are, but there's just other things that we might be able to tweak and turn a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it funny? I thought I was like 100% in the right direction, but there's always something that's important for everyone to know, because we think we know everything, but not really. We need each other's help. That's support, right? As you said, off record, we are serving one another. It's truly beautiful.
Right.
So, where do we start, though? I'll leave the stage to you.
Well, I think the is kind of recapping what we had in the first interview, which is helping people understand there's been a paradigm shift in the world in the last 50 years, not only with climate change, but in the amount of toxins in our environment, which has gone up astronomically. Back in 1960, we had inflammation, but it was relatively a mild version of inflammation. Chronic inflammatory diseases really weren't all that prevalent, as they have becoming more and more in the last 50 years. We've seen an increase in the amount of chronic inflammation, and everybody's like, well, it's the food and it's the lack of exercise. No, it's the toxins in the food, not the food. Now, the food may be not as good, which means we're not getting rid of them as quick, but it's always been the toxins. And to take away from some democratic analysis, it's the toxins, stupid. It's always been the toxins. And we've been watching this for about 50 years now, and we've watched these toxins exponentially increase, especially in countries like the United States, China, and the Middle East. Interesting, you're from Brazil. I live in Brazil. We moved to Brazil because, believe it or not, Brazil's a lot less toxic than the United States is, because they don't allow the industrial chemicals here in Brazil like they do in the United States. The United States is in the top 3 most polluted countries in the world.
Wow.
And we're dumping 200 billion tons of toxins every year onto the United States. And it's manifesting itself because for people who are old enough, or you look at a film from the 1950s, 1960s, obesity didn't occur. Cancer's on an uprise. Alzheimer's on an uprise. Autism is on an uprise. All these things are known to be toxin related because toxins cause inflammation and inflammation causes disease. That's what we really need to start explaining to people, is you need to be aware of your environment and what you can do to limit your exposures. And there's plenty that you can do with not having to spend a lot of money, just understanding a couple key principles. That's the thing that we set the stage with on the first interview, and we talked about going to the MDLifeSpan website, and
Right.
we have guides. We have guides for how to keep your air clean, your water clean, your food clean, your cosmetic products, your house. There's just so many different things that doesn't take a lot of time or money. It just takes a commitment to say, you know what, we're going to stop doing this and we're going to start doing that. So the other thing that we ended the conversation with, and this is where we start this conversation, is you don't know what you can't measure. If you don't measure it, you don't know. Exactly what we were talking with you, because you do live a clean life. You make an effort to eat clean. You make an effort to drink filtered water. You make an effort to not expose yourself to toxins. You do all these things in your everyday life, and we're going to go through these toxin tests because we have a couple of things to explain to people about the toxin test so they understand what they're really looking at, because I don't want people to misinterpret what the toxin test is showing them.
Right.
But
Right.
let's be clear, I've been doing the same toxin test for almost 30 years. 30 years ago, nobody had toxins. They just weren't there. I mean, maybe a couple pesticides and herbicides, but in general, they weren't there. 20 years ago, they started showing up. But around 2015, things started to change. That's when the Flint lead crisis happened, and we started noticing a lot more toxins in people, where people were showing up with 6 to 8 different toxins, where they never used to have maybe 1 or 2 before.
Right.
And of those 8, 2 or 3 of them might be in the high critical levels. Now, as of last year, we're around 14 to 15 toxins per person. And these are people who feel healthy. Because what's the first symptom of a toxin? It's usually the disease. It's usually the cancer or the Alzheimer's or the heart disease or the diabetes, all these things that are chronic inflammatory diseases, because toxins cause inflammation. Inflammation causes these diseases, so therefore toxins. We've known this in medicine for 50 years. The difference is we never had a way to get them all out.
Mm.
Because previously we had a way to get mold out, or do something to get some heavy metals out, or some volatile organic pollutants we could do through some sauna, but we didn't get all of them out. If you got 15 to 17% of them out during some of those procedures, you were doing good, but there was nothing that could take all the toxins out. That's where the PlasmaXchanges come in, and that's been the game changer, because now with one safe, effective, simple, minimally invasive, universal procedure, you can clear your body of the vast majority of the toxins. So, but you don't know until you test. So we had you do the test. We sent you a test kit. What was that test kit like? Was it difficult?
Not at all. So easy and simple. Super
What did
simple.
you have to do?
Only to read some of the instructions, which was so simple, and then got the sample, just put it in a little container. It was just very, 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 very simple.
It's a urine sample.
Yeah.
All you do is minimize how much water you take during the night. And when you get up and by 7 o'clock in the morning, not having drank a lot of water, you pee into a cup, you put that cup into a tube, you put that tube in an envelope, and you put the envelope in the FedEx box, and you're done. It's very simple, and it tests over 110 different toxins.
Yeah.
We test mold toxins, we test forever chemicals, we test heavy metals, and we test environmental toxins. And there's a bunch of different types of environmental toxins, from the plastics to the phthalates to the herbicides and the pesticides and all those crummy ones that we've made and they're poisoning ourselves with. So the first thing that I always want to make sure that people understand is we test a lot of toxins, and not every toxin is made equal. Some are worse, some are more dangerous than others. And it might surprise you, clinically, the ones that we see cause a lot of problems. Because everybody knows about lead and mercury. Everybody knows about Roundup. Everybody knows about BPA, biphenyl A, the one that's in all the plastics. Mm. But what I think is really interesting, when you start looking at the cancers, you're really looking at the ones that cause a lot of oxidative damage. You're looking at the pesticides and the herbicides. And people have to be really aware, especially in the Midwest, and it's in all the food now. Those are especially dangerous. Another one is any of the ones that cause hormonal disruptions, because those tend to propagate cancers. Not that they cause cancer, but if you get a cancer, it tends to accelerate them.
Right.
And then finally, the other two that are kind of newer, one's new, one's old, mold toxins The government doesn't even really consider mold toxins a significant toxin. But if you've been in the field like we have for 30 years, you've seen the people who are mold toxic, and where aluminum may cause Alzheimer's, and where mercury might cause neurodegenerative problem, lead might cause heart attacks and coronary artery disease.
Wow.
Mold causes a fatigue syndrome, brain fog syndrome, that honestly, I think most people who had mold toxicity would trade it for heart disease every day of the week because they just feel bad all the time. And we need to really, I just want to put a shout out to all the mold people. These come down too considerably with the PlasmaXchange. We're making changes in these people's lives that we've never seen before. So mold needs to be up there on that list of things that we need to stop shuffling people away and just say, oh, it's just mold. It's not mold that we're testing. It's the toxins that the mold make. Because we used to eat grain right off the ground and sleep in dry caves. Yeah. Now we put our grain in these big silos and we leave them there for 20 years, and the mold makes toxins. And although we take the grain out of the silos and kill the mold, you can't kill the toxins. That's the chemical that the mold made. So people think, oh, they've treated it, so we've got rid of the toxins. No, you got rid of the mold. You didn't get rid of the toxins. And so that's where all these mold toxins are so pervasive in the environment. Yeah. The other thing is it's in houses. That's a different type of mold. There's one type of mold that we know that's in the construct and a different type that's in the cereal. They're both bad. So I just wanted to put that shout out as we start talking to people about this. The other thing that before we start looking at your test is to understand, you see different ranges. Yeah, green means safe and yellow means a little bit dangerous, and red means dangerous. But that's not really what this report talks about, because this report isn't based upon disease levels. It's based upon the survey of the American people. And if you're in the red, that means you're one of the 5% of Americans that has that high of a toxin. So it's comparing you to everybody else in America.
Right.
The problem with that is we measure these levels every 10 years, 1988, 1998, 2008, 2018. We'll do it again in 2028. And those levels have slowly been going up over time because it's a survey. So one of the problems I always tell people all the time is, how much mercury should you have in your body? 0. It should be 0. So anything that says 1.16 is with the ranges before each, that's just the number of people who have so much of it that's in the upper 25%. It doesn't relate to disease. So some of these things, like the forever chemicals, which are hugely dangerous, cancer causing, degenerative causing, you should have 0 of all of those. But the government now has these ranges that are within the survey of the population. So just because you're in the green doesn't mean you're safe. Right. Just because you're in the red doesn't mean you're dangerous. It probably does, but we don't. It's not correlated to the disease. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to take a look at your toxins here.
Yeah.
All right. So you see, this is what I was talking about when I'm talking about. This is the test, and the first thing it does is it gives you a summary of the toxic burden. Now, it's important to realize, because, Valerie, years ago, people would see me for mercury toxicity, or they'd come see me because of a mold toxin, or they'd come to see me because all these various things. We no longer have that anymore. It's just one toxin. Everybody is multi-toxic syndrome now. It's what we call the toxic burden. If you think about it, you have 224 of this gliotoxin, but there's 150,000 toxins in the universe. We only tested for 100.
Yeah.
So whatever we're seeing here, you got to kind of multiply it by 1,000. Oh. That's how many toxins you have in your body. And the average number in Chicago was about 15. So you can see here you got 5 in the upper range of the 95%, and then you have 3, 6, 7, 8. So you have 8. So altogether you're about 13. You're pretty average.
Right.
But the thing to take away from these are these little symbols. This symbol here stands for mold.
Right.
This symbol stands for an industrial. That means man-made. This is a heavy metal.
Yeah.
And then more mold again. So you have a lot of mold, and a lot of them are in the high areas. And I told you, mold is one of the ones that I don't take lightly because it is a problem for most people. So if you look at this, over half of your toxins are mold,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is from your food and from your environment. So if you're not filtering your water, if you're not HEPA filtering your air, if you're not making sure you don't eat any cereals, and if you make sure that you don't have mold in your environment in your house, you need to do those things.
Right.
That's
Wow.
that's where you need to look for you is the first thing that I take away from this. The
Mm,
second thing I take away from this is you have PERC.
yeah.
People may not know on your show, but the Environmental Protection Agency just banned PERC. PERC is dry cleaning chemicals from dry cleaning clothes. You
Right.
need to stop wearing dry clean clothes, period. That's where you're getting it from.
That is interesting. I don't use them.
Well, they can come on furniture. They can come on plastic wraps. PERC is also used for, but it's most commonly we see it with people who wear a lot of dry cleaning. It's also in a lot of, it can be in cosmetics as well.
Right. Oh, because
And then you have 3 heavy metals, and these are not 3 of the better heavy metals. These are 3 of the worst heavy metals: arsenic, cadmium, and cesium. So arsenic is, you kill people with arsenic.
oh my God.
Cadmium and cesium are radioactive nucleotides. They're very oxidative stress. So you got quite a bit of those. So that's
Wow.
one thing to take away from this. Is you're pretty average, but average isn't good anymore.
Right. Right.
Now, if we just take a second and go down the screen here, I'm just going past each one of these. Because what I did is now when we're looking at the mycotoxins, these are all of them on the same page. Some of these mycotoxins are very bad players. And I've actually highlighted them in yellow because either you were in yellow or you're close to yellow. So I'd even include this one as one that I'm concerned about. Here, this one's already in red. This one, FB1 is highly carcinogenic, and that level's too high for me. So so clinically we know how dangerous this one is. So I've highlighted some of the ones that you were not quite yet into the yellow, but we know to be highly problematic. Carcinogens, oxidative stressors, DNA breakers. Same thing with ochratoxin, which is it's a food mode. But you have all of these, as I'll show you, are all carcinogens. So mold toxins are not to be taken lightly.
Right.
And here's even more mold toxins. So you have all of these as well. So you have a lot that fall in that area of we need to be careful.
Right. Wow.
But the heavy metals, besides the ones that we talked about, there's an extra one here, aluminum. You have quite a bit of aluminum. We know with women that's a risk factor for dementia. And you have 14. You have 40 of arsenic. You have 7 of cesium. And you even have 3. We could even put nickel. I almost highlighted nickel because that's a lot of nickel. Anything in the integers, I always say, is a problem for the heavy metals because these should be 0.
Right. Wow.
And when we go down to the environmentals, and these are also biphenyl A. That's that one that this is high. This causes dozens different associated with dozens other disease states, and you have more than we'd like you to have. Atrazine is one of the more common herbicides in the United States. We know it's associated with obesity and diabetes. Even at this level, you're right on that border, so I highlighted that as well to draw that out. PERC again from dry cleanings. This is a wax that we put on foods and chemical products. Look at this, you have 78. That's a high amount of this wax, which inhibits, putting wax in your body is like putting a preservative in your body. It covers cells and receptors and doesn't let the body work right. It does the same thing to food that it does to your body on the inside. And then you have a lot of these organic compounds, these volatile, these are fumes. So, these are a lot of these different things we see from chemicals and petroleum, but you have a lot of these, and we know all of these are carcinogens.
Wow.
So that's why I was like, we got some, and here you got a couple more of those. And then finally on the PFAs, which are the forever chemicals, even though you don't register in the yellow of any of these, I want to point out something that PFOA, that's Teflon. Okay? And Teflon is known to cause cancer at 1 part per billion. And here you have zero point 0.3 micrograms per gram. So that's like 1,000th. So that's much higher than the DuPont Parkersburg lawsuit was settled with. So I always tell people you have to be careful of these forever chemicals. And this one is Teflon.
Wow.
So if you're using nonstick pans, stop using that. Again, one of the best things that your listeners could do is go to MDLifeSpan's website, look for our guidebooks to eliminating toxins in your environment. We have 6 of them: water, air, food, baby, cosmetics, and chemicals. And they all have very easy to do things that you can eliminate a lot of these. And most of these will come down with time.
Wow. I'm speechless in a way. So the question that comes to mind is immediately, so how do somebody like me, eliminate that? And I know that's you give that solution through your company.
Well, I mean, the first thing, Val, is to do the guidelines of how to eliminate, how to get, you got to stop putting them in.
Right.
That's the first, especially the mold. You got mold either in your cereals, your food chain, or your house, or somewhere there, and you have a lot of it because half of your toxins are mold related. So, and you probably have the DNA. Remember, the other thing that I told in the first episode is it's not just about what toxins you have, it's what your DNA is. Because your toxins take you out where your DNA is the weakest. So if you have a family history of Alzheimer's, I'm going to worry about some other things other than mold. But if you have a family history of depression and fatigue and anxiety, I'm worried about the mold for someone like you. But all the molds are carcinogen too. So if you have cancer in your family, we want to work to get those molds down because especially the FB1, highly carcinogenic.
God, Paul. So I live in Florida. Is that something that it's related? It's always
mold
humid.
Mold central. Any of the hot humid states, and it's just a matter of making sure you keep your environment as clean as possible. One of the things that we know with the mold in Florida is everybody needs HEPA filters. In your house, the air in your house is 5 times more dangerous than the air outside because the mold is inside the box.
Right.
And then if it heats up at all, it's in, you're breathing it in. That's why the HEPA filter is so huge. And then the water filter is so important as well because all that mold gets into the toxins. Remember, it's not the mold you have to worry about. It's the toxins the molds produce. They get into the water supply. But if you have a triple filter reverse osmosis system, that will filter all that out. I mean, you don't see me go anywhere without my Stanley or my Yeti or my Clean Canteen, which is stainless steel container, that I only drink filtered water. Whether I'm in Brazil or whether I'm in Michigan, I don't go anywhere. And I will, don't get me wrong, I'm out somewhere and all I can do is get bottled water. Okay, I'm going to drink a bottled water. But 95% of the time, I'm walking around with my containers filled with water, and that's what I'm drinking all day long. So just getting your water filtered, getting your air filtered, and then the food. Here's the thing that people do all the time wrong. They buy food, they leave it in the refrigerator for a week, and then they eat it.
Oh, yeah.
People, do what they do in Brazil. Go to the grocery store every day. Pick up fresh fruits and vegetables from the best fresh fruit and vegetable store that you can find. And it's probably not Jewel's and Osco's, but it's probably one of the fruit stands or one of the vegetables. It's worth the trip to stop by and pick up your vegetables for the day, your fruit for the day. You're going to get a higher nutrient content. You're going to get a lot less toxins, but you still have to take them home and wash them and peel them. It used to be like, oh, don't peel this because that's good for you. Now I tell people, peel everything. If you can peel it, peel it.
Wow. Because
it's going to get the vast majority of the toxins off. And then wash them good and then eat them. You really do want to spend some time cleaning your vegetables.
Gosh, Paul. So yeah, we do drink bottled water. It comes in glass, not plastic. Mountain Valley.
Yep.
But it's not a good idea.
No, it isn't. It's because you can't qualify the water. And transporting in the plastic gives it all that BPA and all that phthalates that it's just absorbing into the water. The water acts as a medium and it pulls these toxins out of the plastic and they're going to come into you. you need to stop drinking water out of plastic bottles. That's where the mold is. That's where the BPA is. It's just you have to do the filtered water, filtered air, clean your vegetables, and then repeat this test in 6 months, and they'll
Yes.
probably be much better. Do I think so? Who needs to go all the way and get PlasmaXchange? Does everybody need PlasmaXchange? Probably not. Most people who feel healthy who don't have inflammation and don't have any chronic inflammatory diseases typically don't need to do PlasmaXchange. What they need to do is clean up their environment, test, and retest.
Okay.
But if you have chronic inflammation or you have a chronic inflammatory disease like the beginning of Alzheimer's or heart disease or cancer, diabetes, mold toxicity, you probably need PlasmaXchange because you probably don't have enough time to waste trying to clean yourself up. Plus, you have so many toxins at that point, they break down your ability to detox and you can't get anywhere. So that's kind of where I draw the line for people. They pretty much know because it's not an inexpensive process. Now, we go arm's length as far as we can with everybody to give the best price in the country on all the products because, again, we're a public benefit corporation run by a bunch of doctors who care for people, and we're not in it for the profit. We're in it for people. We want to transform people's life. We want to transform their health, and we want to transform the industry so we can start understanding the vast majority of diseases that we're facing in the United States today is because of the toxins.
Right. And that's so true. Thank you so much for the information. I will do exactly that. Just an observation. We do drink water from the bottle, but it's glass. It's not bottle. So I'm wondering if that's also not safe.
You don't know if it's filtered. I mean, you don't know the water they put there in the first place. So I don't recommend people. I recommend for $400 you can get this is all in the handout of the water. You can get an AquaTrue that sits on your counter, does a really good job with triple filter, gets out the vast majority of the pollutants. It is made with a plastic container. They're talking about making the glass to be better. If you get the under the sink one, it's like $1,000, and the cassettes you have to change them once a year. That's about $150. That's worth the investment if you can afford it. That's one of the first things I tell people to do all the time. The other thing that you can do is you can stop using detergent and softener because those are chemicals, and you can get an ozone unit for like $800, and you put it on the back of your washer and use ozone water instead. But if you're gonna put HEPA filter in the house, that'd be great. Do that. But if you can only afford for one room, do it for your bedroom, do it for your kids' room, because that's where you are 8 hours a day, and you need to get those toxins out of the air. You get a HEPA filter, Val, and 3 months later you change the filter. You'll look at it and you're like, that's all the stuff that would have been in you.
God, yeah, we do that. We change it pretty consistently. With the air conditioning, we have a halo. Are you familiar with that, Paul?
But you still need the HEPA.
Oh.
The halo is a way to neutralize particles and infections, but it's not a filter. You still need a HEPA filter. So I like the halo. I always say that's an add-on, but you need the HEPA filter in the room to just get the circulating air and clean out all those microtoxins that are floating around.
Yes.
Remember, your air in the house is 5 times deadlier than the air outside. If you can't afford a HEPA filter, open your windows. Let the outdoors air in as much as you can. The other thing you can do is get rid of fabrics. So fabric curtains and fabric and carpeting and fabric couches, those are all chemical treated, and when they heat up, they're constantly for decades just keeping these chemicals exposed in your house. That's why you're better off going with wood, natural leather, stone, anything that you can do that is something you know is a real product is always better than anything manufactured.
Yeah, how amazing. Thank you. I have one more question about oats. I eat oats every day. They are just like organic in their whole.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really kind of hard. I mean, and I like grains. I mean, there's a lot of ancient grains they're good for you. They have a lot of fiber and soluble fiber, things that we need. So you got to look around. But in the United States, you can go on Amazon, and there's a couple websites. You can get Amish grain, Mennonite grain, the heritage grain, and they come with a certificate of authenticity of a report of how much toxins they have in that grain, and that's what you're looking for. So there's a lot of companies that provide that now. You're getting away from organic, and you're moving more for the toxin-free report. So they give you a report of how much toxins are in, instead of just how many calories and how much protein and how much fat. Now it's like this whole list of how many toxins were detected in this food. And that's what you're going to see really change in the next couple of years. Organic isn't organic. You might as well just throw that word away. It doesn't mean nothing.
Wow.
You just have to buy as clean and as fresh as you can. And then hopefully sooner than later, we're going to start seeing these reports accompanying each one of these foods that tells you how many toxins is in that food.
Right. Gosh, I didn't know about that. That's a great idea. Wow. So, yes, I want to mention your website, MDLifeSpan.com. So that'll be clickable here when this episode is published.
And, and Val, the important thing to tell people is they can schedule a 30-minute consult with one of our doctors at no charge.
Yeah.
That's a service that we give to people because we just want to answer their questions. We want to make sure that they know what's available out there. Or you can buy the toxin test without even talking to one of us. You can buy that toxin test that I showed you right here off of our website, and that comes with 30-minute appointment with one of our doctors to go through those results, just like we did with you.
Right. God, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that too. That opens the door, right, to expand the relationship with their own bodies and with you. I mean, I found you as a person, I'm just wonderful, I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's something about you that's just, it's that I know you're trying to help people to be healthier, which helps them to understand themselves better and have better relationships in this.
You and I have a very similar thing, is that we have a spiritual journey in our life. And it didn't necessarily start out from a good place, but we found to the place where we are today. And we understand that better and better than a lot of people, that how important that is, that we understand that we're all the spiritual community together, and we're really here to help each other and lift each other up and provide each other with the best solutions. I still have a lot of faith in mankind and humanity.
Yeah, me too. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much again for your beautiful contribution, not just to well-being, but also to spirituality, going deeper, right, to what life is all about. So thank you so much again, Paul, and we'll talk again. Did I miss anything at the end? Do you want to mention anything else left unsaid?
No, you did great.
Oh my God, you did great pointing everything out here. So now I have a lot of homework to do. I don't even know where to get started. So, but
go to the website, get the guidebooks, download them, and read them. They're easy to do. They're very directed. It's not expensive. We give you choices. That's where you need to start, especially with you, the air, the water, the food.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'll do that. That's my next thing to do today, actually. Thank you so much again, Paul. We will talk soon. Yeah, thank you. Bye for now.